Good evening, YouTube. Today it is Thursday, the 10th of August. I'm just heading home after an early start today. I am now using a Bluetooth mic attached to my iPhone. I hope it works better than it has done previously. Let me know if it sounds any better this time in terms of the road noise. So let me tell you about today, and then I've got something to talk about afterwards that's not to do with driving per se. So this morning I had two jobs booked in from yesterday, both from the CX. The first job was picking up from Peterborough at 5 o'clock in the morning, going to rugby, and then I had a second job booked in from between 9 and 10 pick up from Nuneaton going up to Bolton. And the reason why I wanted to take that second job was because I today had to do a pickup from Barnsley and from Leek to drop off in High Wycombe from my regular shipper. So there's one route this week from them. So my first job, I got up, woke up at 4 o'clock. I left the house at 4:30. Got to the pickup on time at 5 o'clock. The mileage for the job is 65 miles, and I got paid £90 for that job for a large wheelbase van. I got tipped off at the other end. The journey was quite easy because it was quite light in traffic, but I had a bit of faffing about at the other end, trying to work out what they wanted me to do in terms of where to go and what paperwork to fill out. But I was finished within about 20 minutes of arriving. So I'd finished just gone 7 o'clock. So I made my way to my second stop in Nuneaton, and I got there about 7:45. I parked up at an Aldi shop, which wasn't going to open until 8 o'clock. So I used that time to go for a walk. I did 1,000 steps in one direction and then back to my van. By the time I got back, Aldi had just opened. I then went in and bought myself some rice cakes for the day, and then I made my way to my second pickup, and I got there at 8:15, which is quite early, but I thought I'd just pop in and put my head around the corner and say I'm here, wait for when you're ready, just on the off chance that they were ready early. No pressure on them. I would wait until 9 if they hadn't been ready, but they were ready, and I got loaded up, and I was away from there by about 8:30. They gave me a very heavy pallet to put on my side doors. It's about 950 kilograms. I can take just over 1,100 kilograms, so it wasn't beyond my weight. But I'm glad I put it in the side door, not the back door. It would have been very unbalanced if I'd done that. So I made my way from Nuneaton to Bolton. For that job, it was again for a large wheelbase van. I think it's for a large wheelbase more because of the weight than because of the size. There's only one standard size pallet. So I think that's the only reason why it needs to be a large wheelbase van. And I got £135 for that job, and that was 118 miles. And I got to Bolton and got unloaded by 11:20. There's a bit of faffing about when I got to the drop-off place. The reception didn't really have a clue what I was going to do. I ended up finding goods in eventually, and then once I found it, the forklift guy was really quick to get me unloaded. So I was in and out there by 11:20 at that point. And then I was looking at other jobs to see if I can get myself from Bolton across to Barnsley. There wasn't really anything that I could win, and in the end I said I'll just dead mile it across, get on with my day. And I thought my plan at this point was to just go and get the pickups from Barnsley and from Leek, drop them off at High Wycombe, go home, end of the day, nice 3 jobs done, that nice amount of money, and sleep in my own bed. That was the plan at that point. So I then made my way across to Barnsley. It took me about an hour and a half. I got picked up there. Then I went from there to Leek. On the way to Leek, I got some diesel because I ran very low. I ran very low on diesel, and I got filled up. And then made my way to Leek. Did my pickup there, and then I made my way towards High Wycombe. I was looking for co-loads, but not necessarily too vigorously. And then I made a decision, which was a risky one, and it may prove to be the wrong decision, but I'll tell you what I decided to do. I decided at Leek to head home, which is about 2 hours, and the rationale was there was a job in going from High Wycombe in the morning back up to, I think it's Nottingham, and I thought if I've been on that, take the risk that I get it. That was an 11 o'clock drop off. That I could then pop home tonight, go down in the morning with my load, unload it in time, and then pick up from High Wycombe, and then get on with my day. And I did think if I don't get the job, then that's not going to work, and I may not get it still. It's still up for grabs. But then I also thought I've got a chance of getting a co-load from home down to High Wycombe in the morning, so it's another chance of getting some more work. And if I don't get a co-load down and I don't get a job out of High Wycombe pre-booked, then I've still got a chance to earn my money tomorrow with other jobs just ad hoc on the day. So it is a risk. I say risk. It's a decision that I made, and what it means is I'm going to earn less money today than I would have done otherwise, because the load that I've picked up, I'm not going to count now until I drop off tomorrow morning, and that load is worth £270, £270. So today I'm not going to earn that money. That's going to be earned tomorrow instead, which means that my stats for today are under target. But the reason for me going home was because of my early start. It's now nearly 6 o'clock. Because of my early start, I've been on the road now for 13 and a half hours. I am quite tired, and I don't think it was sensible for me to go all the way to High Wycombe and then from there home. And I could go to High Wycombe and just get unloaded and tramp there, but I think the idea of sleeping in my own bed is really appealing tonight. So I think the risk of earning a bit less money, but getting home at a reasonable time. I'll be home by about 7. I'll be in my own bed tonight. I think for me, it's worth the risk of not getting the maximum income today, just to get the advantage of being at home and sleeping in my own bed. And that's really because I'm quite tired, and that's So I'll explain why. So let me give my stats for today then. So it's been quite a simple day, quite a long day in the end, but quite simple. So by the time I get home, I will have worked in total for I'll get there, don't worry, 14 and a half hours. I will have driven 429 miles, 429 miles. On my fill up today, I had to fill up. The fuel's gone up in price this week, so my new price for fuel per mile is 15.12 pence per mile. Therefore, my fuel cost for today at that mileage rate is £64.87. And as I said, my gross earnings today from 2 CX jobs is £225.225, and that means because I've not dropped off my High Wycombe drop, which I can't include, my net earnings today after fuel £160.160, and that means I've got on board my load for tomorrow to drop off in High Wycombe, and that will get me £270 tomorrow morning first thing. So I've got to do a couple of jobs to make my target for the 2 days. So I even want one decent job will do it tomorrow. But I've got Friday. I like Fridays. I'll stay away from central London, and hopefully it'll be a good day. I'm reasonably confident I'll get my target. So yeah, that's today. I would like at this point to update my subscriber numbers. It's 119. I've got one more since last time I spoke to you, so I really appreciate you joining. Thank you very much. And the next thing I want to talk about is not quite to do with same-day couriering, but it is in that field. It's to do with YouTubing, I suppose. And it's something I've wanted to say for a while. It's really quite important to me that I say this. I'll do what I usually do, is I'll ramble until we can hear it comes out. And during my ramble, there's a couple of personal things I want to say to you as well. So, this is something I thought about for a long time. About a year ago, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I thought about this idea then, but the YouTubing is exactly the same idea. And also, John Tallman Smallvan's video that came out not long ago inspired me to address this issue. And I think John might watch these videos, so I suppose to some extent I'm going to be talking directly to you at this point for a bit. I hope you don't mind. I've never met John, but we have texted a couple of times. So I'll introduce this off the back of John's video, because that's a good way in. And what I took from it more than anything. It might not be what he meant to say, but it's what I heard from it. And I'm pretty sure at one point he said in his video, "Oh, this isn't very entertaining," or "I want to be entertaining," or words to that effect. And I think you are entertaining, John. I don't think you have to try and think of unique things to say to your audience. I'm pretty sure everyone shares my view that you just talking about whatever you want to talk about in the way you do it is really interesting and inspiring. You don't have to be saying something that's brand new or entertaining or unique. So that's my way into this. And my point is this. When it comes to things like podcasts and YouTube videos, I think there is sometimes people don't start because they feel they've got nothing new to add to the ecosystem. And I think that's completely the wrong way to look at it. There isn't very much new that can be said about all sorts of things. Same-day courier work is changing. There is new developments that come in. So there's always going to be new things that happen, and new kind of ways of looking at it, and new products and new ways of working. And so there will always be some new elements, but also there won't be much changes to a lot of the fundamental parts of it. And I think that it's not about doing a YouTube video about same-day couriering that has to be unique. But what is important, I think, is that different sorts of people are engaging with YouTube and podcasting. And what I mean by that is the internet is an amazing resource, and it's really helpful and has changed the way we communicate forever. But one of the things that's good about it is it's very cheap and easy to get started, and literally anybody can engage, can form a channel. I'm doing a YouTube channel. This is my first personal comment. Because one day they will find out, when my family find out that I'm doing this, they will be flabbergasted. They will be completely shocked that I'm doing this. I'm not the sort of person that engages with social media, and I tell everyone that. So the fact that I'm doing this, they would never guess in a million years that I've got a channel. And at the moment, none of my family know, and I'm keeping it that way. So, what's important about social media in this context is not necessarily what you say, although there is an element of being consistent, with your output, produce output on a regular basis. That's always helpful. And be authentic to yourself. I've learnt that by doing this. So there is an element of what you say is important, but mainly your audience will be, I think, from people who relate to you. And at the moment, the YouTubers that I listen to and I persist listen to, I do try and look at alternatives. I do every so often do searches on YouTube for different YouTubers, and I have listened to ones that don't still do the YouTube channels. I mentioned a few in a video back. There were 4 YouTubers that are no longer doing it that I've put links to in my video. So I do try and get more voices than the ones I've already got. But the ones that I've got are all kind of male, older. I would say probably James is an exception and possibly Toby's an exception. They're not as old as the rest of us. I'm assuming British born. Definitely native English speakers, I think, the ones I listen to. And I think that there is a market there for different kinds of voices to produce content. So, for example, I'll give you 3 examples that I can think off the top of my head. Let's say you're female, or even let's go non-binary. I'm up for that. If you relate to someone who's non-binary or female, you would love to have a YouTuber who shares that characteristic, and you might get a lot more from someone saying those things who shares your gender than people that currently exist. Let's say you're in your early or mid-20s. Maybe you find the stuff that YouTubers currently say useful, but you don't relate to them because they're all a bit older than you are. And so maybe there's a scope there for a young person to come and do YouTube. You don't have to say anything different to what I was saying, because stuff that everyone's saying is sensible stuff that works for most people. What if you're not an English speaker? There are some YouTube channels I've come across that are not native English speakers, but they're not necessarily consistent in their output. So if you were someone who was maybe an immigrant or from an immigrant family, you would have something in common with lots of people who do this job, and they would relate to you, and you'd get an audience from those sort of people. Really, any kind of personal characteristic and personal qualities that makes you different could appeal to an audience. It could be race, ethnic background, the same thing, gender, sexuality, age, where you live in the country even. Maybe you've got a very strong, accent, and maybe you would relate to people who have that accent. I'm not saying you would or wouldn't, but there's other things that people are different. Okay, let's stop. So my point is, I'm a bit distracted by this going on in front of me, this accident, but I'm trying to tell you this as well. So I wanted to share my perspective that if you've got a voice and you want to say something, do it. It's so cheap and easy on YouTube or podcasting. And don't worry about saying unique or entertaining stuff necessarily, because you'll get an audience from people who relate to you. That's the point that I wanted to make. I suppose this brings me to another personal point of mine. One of the reasons why I started a YouTube channel was that I felt I could do it differently to other people I saw. For example, I don't appear on camera. I'm very happy with that, and I'm very. There's a car in the ditch there. Look, I hope they're all right. There's no one in the car. Good. I don't appear on camera. Other people do, and that's fine. That's not right or wrong. It's just how I want to do it. I get a sense of freedom from doing it that way. I can be more open and honest. I really am very happy with the decision, and I will keep it as long as I can. I like the anonymity of doing this. I realised that one day Probably a ship is going to recognise me from a job that I do for them who listen to this video. That's probably going to happen, in a not too distant future. The longer I do this job, the more chance that is happening. As I said, my family don't know I do this, and I think that'd be a very long time before anyone in the real world who knows me will see this, because they're not interested in my work, and they wouldn't think I'd be doing this. And the other thing that makes my voice, I think, different is my self-diagnosed autistic traits, as I describe them. So I see the world in a very different way to lots of people, but other people see the world in the same way as I do. So I kind of think that I might appeal to people who share that kind of those difficulties of social difficulties and dealing with people. And I have, I would say, a mild form, but it's had a massive effect on how I relate to people and how I come across to people. So I think that's where I felt I had a voice that was different to everyone else. What I say about same-day couriering is not necessarily unique. Having done the job and what I've learned, lots of people say the same things. But I still think there's scope for, if you've got a voice, then I think you should definitely use it. And this brings me, I suppose, to my last point about that, which is another personal point, which kind of leads on naturally from what I've just said. Another reason why I do a YouTube channel. So I have no other social media presence. I've worked quite hard in my life to not be on any kind of social media. You might find me on a newspaper article from a previous job, for something good, by the way, not something bad. But other than that, I don't have any kind of Instagram or Facebook or what's the one that professionals do? There's TikTok as well, which I don't do. There's the one that I did do for a short time, but it's the one that professionals tend to go on. I can't remember what it's called now. You'll know what I mean. Anyway, I'm not on any of those social media platforms. And the only thing I'm on is now YouTube. And one of the reasons is I felt that I wasn't going to leave any imprint on the world if I didn't do anything like this. What was my legacy going to be? If I have no social media imprint, when I die, all that will be left of me is people remember me. And nowadays, lots of people have some sort of social media, I want to say imprint of them. They have a effect on the world through their social media. And I thought that if I died and never did any social media at any point, what would I leave behind? So in this way, what I'm doing is I'm leaving behind my perspectives on the world, how I see the world, and it's my legacy for people that know me, and I suppose even the people who don't know me. Something will outlast me. One day my family will see these videos. The people that I love will know who they are when they see them, and I'm glad that there's something out there for them to sort of remember me by, other than just their memories. I'm not planning to die soon. There isn't anything, as far as I'm aware, that's going to cause that to happen. But this is part of the thinking I have is, if I didn't do anything like this, what have I actually left with the world? That's positive, I suppose. Okay, I think I'm going to draw it to a line there. I think the video is probably quite long enough now as it is. So now I'll bring it to a close. There was one other thing which I'll leave to tomorrow actually. So that I have had some further repercussions from Monday, which I'll tell you about tomorrow. And I'll do my weekly run up tomorrow as well. So I won't do that tomorrow. So thank you very much for listening to one of my videos. What have you learnt today?